All right, welcome in everybody, welcome in. Hope you're doing super well. Today we're gonna be moving back to balancing on hands. Last time we developed the foundation, just as a recap, thumb and pinky pressed down into towards an imaginary point below. Let me change okay. Thumb and pinky pressed down towards an imaginary point below the surface. So if you think about a triangle between the thumb and pinky, and then create an equilateral triangle to a point below and press down towards that point as if you're trying to touch it, and you'll get a suction cup in the hand that lifts a little bit in the metacarpals here and creates almost like you're trying to palm a baseball, and you'll feel that there's like this dome shaping of the palm when you activate those two, the pinky and the thumb down into towards the ground. And you can actually kind of, I'm not exactly sure how to explain it. I guess it's an activation of, it's a co-activation of the muscles of the back of the wrist and the front of the wrist. So the flexors and the extensors, that actually sort of creates this suction cupping. And I imagine like I'm holding a ball, like I guess one of those softballs or, you know, a big baseball of sorts, where you're like palming the ball, holding it, and yet there's this isometric engagement here that stops you from just making a fist, right? So that's what I imagine. And of course, when your hand is on the ground will stop you from like actually digging in. So we create this isometric palming, so pinky and thumb are really pressing down. I used to try to be able to palm a basketball when I was younger. I had smaller hands then. And even now, still, it requires a tremendous amount of spreading my fingers while trying to squeeze it. And if anyone's ever tried to do that, you know what I'm talking about. You have to both spread your hand as wide as possible and grip it. And that's really one of like the ideas, because when you're spreading out, you're gonna find that you're gonna activate more muscles along here. So when you're trying to spread, and then when you're trying to squeeze everything back in, you're gonna activate all the muscles along here, not to mention the muscles between the fingers and everything, that adduct and abduct. So it's just a co-activation. A lot of people want to know the proper alignment, like what's the right way to do this or that. It's not really that there's a right way. Should I spread my fingers? Should I not spread my fingers? It's that you should be trying to do both regardless of the alignment, and you'll be able to co-activate muscles. That's more important than whether you choose your fingers closer together or wider apart. But regardless of the alignment you choose, that you're trying to spread and that you're trying to squeeze in, there's like these co-activations in the body that when you learn how to do them, you're gonna find the most amount of joint space, but also maximum stability. Stability is co-activating opposing muscle groups. That's really all it is. Stability is just co-activating opposing muscle groups. Mobility is activating a single muscle group and allowing it to be stronger than the opposing muscle group so that movement happens. So if I only activate the flexors of the wrist, then it mobilizes to make a fist, right? From going here to here, that's mobility, right? But if I hold my hand like this and I try to activate the flexors of the wrist and I try to activate the back of the wrist, meaning I don't close my hand, but I activate all the muscles that I would do so, then what stops me from making a fist is the muscles along the backside, the extensors, and what's trying to create the fist is the flexors. That's stability. That's no movement. But if I relax the extensors here, suddenly I moved. That's mobility. So even if the extensors were active, we'd have something called eccentric contraction. So if I activate these muscles, but I let the flexors win, I would slowly create a fist, right? That slowing down is an eccentric contraction. It's an engagement of the extensors while allowing them to elongate, so the flexors are actually just winning in that case. So long as one muscle group is winning and the other muscle group is either relaxed completely or it's not as activated as much as the winning group, then we would have mobility. But stability is when you have both opposing muscle groups activating equally. And here's the catch. If one muscle group is weaker than the other, then that muscle group has to activate you have to put more effort. There has to be more energy expended in the weaker muscle group in order for stability to occur. Another route we have to think about is if a posture is challenging one muscle group over the other, then that muscle group that is challenged has to work even harder. So for example, in the case of something like crow pose, we are leaning our body weight, and the leaning of the body weight creates wrist extension. So the flexors of the wrist are going to be most challenged in this case, and they're going to have to activate much more than the extensors of the wrist because the posture is creating a demand for the flexors to activate. So stability is not just co-activating opposing muscle groups, it's activating a muscle group that is opposing whatever outside force is being put upon it, whether it's a shape or if it's a shifting of body weight and so on and so forth. All right, so that's our goal for today. I just want to say hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you for being here. Pooji, welcome. Nice to have you here. Sabui, welcome in. Hey, Patty. Hey, Amalia. Hello, Dag. Nice to see you, and I haven't seen you in here. Dina, welcome in. Hey, Lenore, welcome. Hope you're having a great day, everybody. Oops, oh, hold on. Okay, where am I here? There we are. Sorry, I swiped the wrong direction and lost everything. Okay, I think we're okay. At least you are. Let me just reload this page for myself so I can see where the heck I am. I lost the chat, so maybe when I reload, I'll be able to find it. Here we go, stream. Sorry if you're speaking to me in the chat, I don't see it. Oh, here we go. All right, welcome back, it says. Hey, Meg, welcome in. Nice to have you here. And everybody that is tuned in that is not in the chat, welcome in. Okay, so today we want to revisit the strength of the flexors of the wrist predominantly is our focus. And a reminder, we have the pinky and the thumb. We have the three middle fingers. I call these the brakes. These are what stop you from falling forward. The pinky and the thumb are the structural fingers. They're what create the arch of the hand, more or less. We're just simplifying, oversimplifying, but it's necessary, I think, because there's a lot of technicals. So we have these three brakes, then we have the structured fingers, and then we have the heads of the metacarpals, which is like the power point, where we're going to press down into. So we have our power point, we have our brakes, and we have our structural fingers, okay? Power point, brakes, structure. So pinky and thumb are the structure, the three middle fingers are the brakes, they stop us from falling, and then we have our power point where we push down into. And when we push down into this point, it activates more of the flexors of the wrist joint, and it also helps to alleviate some of the pressure that happens in the heel of the hand at the metacarpals. Now, I do want to go over one thing I saw in someone's video that they sent. I want to just clarify in down dog. Hey, Nina G, welcome in. Let me see, I think this is, I'm going to actually zoom in from a different camera angle. Give me a second while I do that, because I really want you to see this work. Okay, so before we actually get into our practice, I just want to show you this. You don't have to do it because I know you're not warmed up yet, but I want to show you the difference here between what I asked you to do the other day with down dog. Let me just make sure I can see the full thing. Okay, so you can see my hands here. Now, what I wanted you to do the other day was lift the heel of the hand up. Now, there's a couple of ways to avoid the strength of the forearm even while lifting the heel hand up. One way is to flick the wrist forward and put all the pressure in the finger joints. Now, this doesn't take any strength at all. It's just putting the pressure in the joints. It's asking the joints to stop you. Another way is to actually position the thumb in such a way that if you widen it, you can put all the pressure into the thumb and still lift the heel of the hand up. So we don't want to do either. We want to simply lift the heel of the hand up and not like ask any joint to stop the hand from falling down and or falling forward. So, but rather think of what will be beneficial for most of you is sliding a credit card. It's very thin underneath the heel of the hand. So it's just a small lift of the heel of the hand. The bigger you go, the easier it gets. And it's just a small amount. Okay, so what you could do, and we'll get to it in a second, but I'm gonna show it to you now, is you could place a rolled up blanket behind your forearms. I should have gotten that first, sorry. I'm gonna show you with blocks. But as you come to down dog, you try to take the pressure. Right now you're gonna see that I'm gonna put the pressure in the blocks to come to down dog. Now if I try to take the pressure off of the blocks, I just lift the heel of the hand up slightly and I keep my shoulders from dropping this way. I lift the armpits up and the heels of the hands slightly up. But you see that the fingers, I'm not flicking forward and I'm not putting the pressure in my thumbs, which is an interesting thing, but a lot of people can do that where you kind of position the thumb in such a way that it takes the pressure. You don't want the joints to stop you from falling. You want the muscles to be lifting the heel of the hand up. And only you can really assess what's happening there. But I don't know if you can see from that angle, but it's a very small lift to the heel of the hand. There's a slight bit of space. So and it comes all the way from the shoulders. So I'm not just dropping the arms down like this. The blocks are behind the forearms to show you that I'm gonna try to get lighter away from the block by both lifting the armpits up and by lifting the heel of the hand slightly off the ground, okay? It's just a little buoyancy, like a little breath underneath the heel of the hand, just enough for like a credit card. Okay, so let's get going. I just wanted to kind of clarify that for everybody. Please come to all fours, hands and knees, and let's revisit the activation of our hands. Move this a little bit to the side so you have a better angle. We want to get the 3 fingers, which we call the brakes, to press down into the ground, okay? And not just down, but even drag back towards the heel of the hand. Now you're gonna find that when you do that, that the power point, which is the metacarpals, the head of the metacarpals, starts to lift up. So press that down. Now the structure fingers, pinky and thumb, they press down towards that imaginary point to start creating that sort of arch in the hand, that kind of doming at the palm of the hand. That should be already tiring, okay? Now what we need to learn today is not only how to activate these muscles, but how to lean our body weight towards them like this without losing the activation. So relax your hands. We don't want to burn them out too soon. And then with your hands back on the ground, grip, we're going to just try that again. Brakes, grip, power points, push, structural fingers, press down and towards that imaginary point below the hand. So pinky and thumb press down towards that triangulation, the equilateral below the hand. The metacarpals, the power points, press down so the heel of the hand gets light. And then the 3 brakes, press down and really activate super strongly, okay? And that should be a real warm up for the forearms. And relax, give your wrists a break. And let's get a little warm up for the legs without tiring out the hands. Bring your right leg forward, come up onto the fingertips and lift your back knee up. Fill up the back body, and you do so by finding the power point of the foot is the heel, so you press through the right heel, and then big toe and pinky toe press down. Reminder of those 2 activations for the foot. So big toe, pinky toe, and then scrunch up the foot so we get that arch of the foot, that doming at the bottom of the foot to activate as well, just like the hand. Okay, they mimic each other in that way. By the way, when you're on fingertips here, you're also creating that doming. If you look at my fingers here, so I'm not just kind of like jamming into my finger joints, right? I'm kind of I'm pulling energy in and up so that there's a suction in the palm here. So you want to create these doming effects in the body. Those create that nice arch of stability.
in both the hands and the feet. All right, we can just step and switch sides, left foot forward, right foot back. There's not a lot of pressure in my hands, by the way. I know a lot of people when they first are doing like lunges, they put all the pressure in the hands so that they don't have to put the effort in the feet. Your legs are much stronger than your little fingers. So push from your left buttocks, press down into your heel until your hips lift up, right? And your hands should be almost unnecessary. And you also notice that I'm not collapsed on my thigh here. I'm using my glutes, which helps tip the pelvis underneath slightly and helps lift the chest. My upper back is rounded in this preparatory position, not arched. Lift the toes up, and then let's dome the foot. Pull the big toe and big toe mound back so you get this kind of arching effect, and then pinky toe and pinky toe mound into the ground. So there's even a dome going this way and up in the center of the foot. Then same thing with your hands. Create that suction cupping so your hands and your foot have these big arches within them. Okay, from that dome of support, just take a full breath, and then we're going to switch sides again. Right foot forward and left foot back. Now, let's first learn on the feet how to shift our weight forward and back. I'd like for you to kind of acknowledge where your weight is right now. Some of you might be further back, some of you might be further forward. I'd like us to actually lean forward until the front knee, so let me show you, is past the heel and more towards the toes, okay? You're gonna feel that that overloads the quadriceps in the front. Now we're gonna go back the other way. You're gonna really try to reach your back heel back. This is putting your weight in the back foot, okay? Now put your weight entirely in the front foot. Your front knee comes, you can see the angle of my shin and arms are all, my shoulders and knee are in front of the heel, right? And then lean your body back into your back heel. Now everything's behind. Lean your body forward, lean your body back. Forward, now switch. Step and switch. Okay, then again, adjust your front foot, big toe, pinky toe, and press through the PowerPoint buttocks to heel connection, and then suction your fingers. Now notice where your weight is. It's more or less probably in the front foot, but there's some weight in the back foot for sure, right? So let's put all the weight forward by pointing through the back foot. And then let's put all the weight back by leaning into the back heel. Okay, all the weight forward, all the weight back. Now last time I had you lean forward like this, and then I had you step. Let's try to lean all the way back and see if, while leaning back, is it possible to lift the back foot up? Like try to step it forward. It's impossible unless you lean your body forward first, then you can step forward, then you can switch sides. Still leaning forward, switch sides. Then once you get the foot on the ground, right, then you can place the foot on the ground. So then you can balance your weight. That's super important because most people will keep their weight in their back foot and then they'll try to step forward. It's very clunky. It's kind of like, very heavy-footed. And that's not because you're heavy-footed, it's because your weight is in the wrong foot. If your weight's back, you're not gonna be able to step easily. So let's do a few rounds. Lean forward, step forward lightly, switch sides by still leaning forward. See how far forward my shoulders are? My knee is almost over my toes, if not over my toes. Then I reach the leg back, and then lean forward, switch sides. Keep leaning forward until the foot is placed on the ground. Then you can shift, then lean forward. Keep switching sides by leaning forward, both to step forward and back. You only lean back in order to solidify the posture for a moment. Then you lean forward to transition, okay? And this is why transitions are gonna be quad dominant. They're gonna be very heavy on the quads as you switch. All right, now let's come to the front of the mat. Once you've done a few step forwards, a little overdid it there. Come onto your fingers. Lift the chest on the inhale. Pause here. Lift your heels slightly up and move your heels apart, calves apart, and press the backs of the legs away from one another. Now bend the elbows and bow. If you'd like, you can change where your hands are. You can place your hands behind your calves, or any variations you'd like to take, welcomed. So what we've done so far is just a little bit of weight shifting on the feet. Today we're going to be weight shifting on the hands mostly, but of course it's easier for a lot of us to learn how to shift our weight on our feet, though that is also challenging in its own right. For example, I'd love for you to place blocks underneath your hands right now, if you have them. You can use fingertips still if you'd like, but just to give your fingers a break. If you place your blocks underneath your hands and you form a tabletop with your arms and your legs. So that means your arms are directly below your shoulders, your hips are directly above your heels, or your heels are below your hips, however you want to look at it. Now, most people, what happens is they lean their body weight back in Uttanasana. And that creates a tucking of the pelvis, shortening of the hamstrings. So it looks something like this. And forever, the hamstrings remain tight, and we never understand why we haven't gotten any more flexible. So when you do something like this, what happens as you lean back is the pelvis automatically tucks, the posterior chain shortens, and you don't actually increase the stretch. You might feel a stretch sensation, but you're just not increasing the length as much as potentially you could. Now watch the difference. And of course, you got to be mindful. You don't want to overstretch. But watch. From here, as I lean forward, what it does is it frees up the pelvis to tip forward. Okay, so this is leaning back. The tailbone will tuck. The sit bones will tuck. This is leaning forward. The pelvis can start to anterior tilt. So if you're in an Ardha Uttanasana and you lean back, most people's tailbone will tuck, the hamstrings will shorten, and that's probably why we're leaning back. It's probably because we don't have the flexibility just yet. But if you're aware of it, you see how I'm not vertical in my arms, I'm not vertical in my legs. If you're aware of it, you can lean forward, and then you can get the pelvis to tilt more once you are forward. Then you can bend the elbows and bow, whether you're on blocks or not. But most people struggle here. You might be struggling to lean forward. In my opinion, it would be better to lean forward and keep your hands on blocks and even just stay in Ardha Uttanasana than it would be to lean back, round the spine, and do one of these kind of things, okay? So leaning forward is going to help align the pelvis over the femur bones. Let's come up to stand.
Now on 2 feet, let's create some weight shifting. If you lean back, you're going to notice that eventually you kind of have to step your feet, right? Because you don't have toes behind you to stop you from falling. One thing you could do to increase the ability to lean back is you can push your heels out and stick your butt back. And then as you lean back, if you push your heels out more and you counterbalance with your head forward, you'll be able to hold the pose longer before you have to step back. Okay, that's one thing you could do to increase the amount of weight you can shift back. But even here, it's relatively small compared to how far forward you can lean. And the reason you can lean a lot farther forward is because you have toes that can dig into the ground, and you can even start to press the front edges of your feet down so that the heels of your feet lift up slightly, and you can even be able to bow forward even more, right? So if you think about the distance of how far back off of center that you have before you fall versus how far forward, we all have a lot further forward that we can go, so long as our calf muscles are healthy and strong, so long as our flexors of our toes, our plantar flexors of our toes, the ones that dig into the earth, that stop us, we have a lot more range forward, okay? Same is true with the hands. We have more range when we lean forward into our fingers than if we lean back into the heel of the hand. And this, I hope, is a clarifying moment for you as to why if you're not balancing crow pose or handstand or anything, it's because the weight of the pose is currently back in the heel of your hand, just like this. And unlike standing up, you just haven't had the ability to actually balance yet in your hands, because we have a lot more opportunity here to balance, more opportunity when we lean into the fingers than when we do in the heel of the hand. Most people haven't even gotten to the point where you're up like this. I'm talking about, what's the word? This is relatively speaking, which would be vertical. We haven't got to a point where the forearm is vertical yet, and as a result, we haven't found balance in different postures. So we will find balance today by leaning our forearm to at least vertical, which is like Tadasana, in a posture like crow pose. Okay, bend your knees, move your hips back behind you, and push the heels out. Let's start just by warming up the back muscles. Lift the chest, stretch the belly, stretch the abdomen, take the arms cactus shape. Keep the weight back right now in the heels, and let's find the arches of the feet. So the power point is pressing down through the heel. It's a little micro tuck of the sit bones down through the heel. And then you form the arches of the feet by pressing the big toe and pinky toe into the ground. If you can, lift the other 3 toes. Lift the heart. Exhale, bow forward. Uttanasana, forward fold. And right away, notice if you're leaning back, can you lean your body weight forward? Inhale, halfway lift. Press the backs of the legs apart. Exhale, step your left foot back. And we'll walk the hands to the inside of your right foot today. Let's get the inner thighs active. Pull your feet toward each other and move your pelvis back. As you pull your feet toward each other, let's take a full breath in. Now bend the elbows and bow, opening up the inner thighs. Inhale, lift the chest halfway. Exhale, bend the elbows and bow. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, bend the elbows and bow. Walk the hands back to center, pivot the back heel up. Take a breath and gather strength in the legs. Pull your feet toward each other. Exhale, turn the belly, twist. 2 more that way. Inhale, unwind. Exhale, twist. Inhale, unwind. Exhale, twist. Inhale, unwind. Place your hands for down dog. Exhale. Fingers gripping. 3 break fingers. They're the middle fingers. Pinky and thumb grip the ground, your structure fingers. And then the power point, press down through the metacarpals, the heads of the metacarpals. Come to all fours, hands and knees. And make sure you have your hand structure firmly planted. So breaks are the 3 middle fingers. Dig them into the ground. They're going to stop you from leaning forward. Structure fingers active and heads of the metacarpals down, power point. Now, we continue to do that, but shift your body weight forward. And as you do so, pull the ribs in round the back. Then shift your body weight back. Now, many of you are going to be wondering, like, I don't know if I'm going forward, or if some of you will do this. You'll go down like this by bending the elbows and sinking the chest. Elbows fully straight. And what you could do is place a block right behind your forearms. This is vertical, right? When the block is vertical right behind your forearm, now you're vertical. The block doesn't lie. So then to lean forward, you would lean past the block. Most of you are going to bend your elbows, keep them straight and round your back, fingers grip the ground. Then you can lean into the block that is off of vertical. This is where most of us are balancing our arm balances, somewhere back here, and we're counterbalancing our weight by throwing legs in different positions or trying to dip our nose down. Try to lean forward and activate the forearms by digging your 3 middle fingers into the earth, by pinky and thumb pressing down, metacarpals pressing down, and then lean back. Okay, that's how you shift your body weight
in something like all fours and in all arm balances. Keep your upper back full and round and lean forward and grip. Okay, and let's relax the hands for a moment. Sit back. You can do a little wrist stretch like this, since these get really tight from being in such wrist extension. You basically take the hand and you pull the fist back to stretch the back of the wrist. All right, and then we come to the ground, and round two, actually we'll give our wrist a break. Let's come to downward dog. We'll do the next drill on the other side. Please take the right leg to the sky. On the exhale, step forward. Hands to the front thigh, come up and pause. Firm up the back leg. With the back leg strong, round the back, keeping the back full. You can take the fingertips into that position like you're holding a big ball. Take a full breath. Two more full breaths. One more full breath. Okay, widen the arms, reach up, high lunge. Open up, warrior two. Move the groins back, so deepen the pelvis. And now press through the outer right heel. Again, I like to lift the front of the foot up. Pinky toe and big toe press down. That forms the arch here. Keeping that strength of the foot. Let's go to the back foot. Big toe, pinky toe, press down. The arch of the back foot activates. Even try to shorten the back foot a little bit, like try to pull the ball mounds of the foot back towards the heel and get the inner arch to be active and strong. Let's do two more breaths. One more breath. Reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, hands to the ground. Okay, now remember, lean forward to step forward. Half lift, lean forward, forward, forward. Exhale, bend the elbows and bow, keeping the weight towards the toes. Bend the knees, hands to the thighs. Lift the chest. Move the hips back. Toes lifted. To start, push the heels out and get your outer hips active. While you push the heels out and your outer hips engage, now press your big toe and pinky toe into the ground. Can you press the backs of your buttocks apart, hamstrings apart, like you're turning the front of the thighs inward? Like you're turning the front of the thighs in. You're not actually doing so, but pulling the backs of the legs out. That's called an internal rotation, where the backs of the legs move apart. And you're gonna feel that in your outer hip muscles. Lift the chest. Oops, that camera died again, always does. Reach the arms up. Exhale, bow forward. Halfway lift on the inhale. Step the right foot back. Turn the back heel down, walk the hands to the inside of the left foot. Take a full breath in. As you exhale, bend the elbows and bow. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bow. Inhale, lift. Exhale. Inhale, lift. Walk back to center. Back heel pivots up. Pull your legs toward each other, gather strength. Round the back. Exhale, twist. Inhale. Again, exhale, twist. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, unwind. Down dog, exhale. Forward to plank pose. Grip your fingers into the ground, pause. Now I want to try to get to vertical with the forearms. So for most of us, that's going to feel like a big lean forward and grip your fingers into the ground to make sure you don't overdo it. You don't want to fall forward, and you want to keep your upper back full. So round the back, pull the ribs and belly in, grip the ground. Now place the knees down, relax all the way to the ground. On the inhale, lift the heart up. You can even lift the hands up. Exhale. Let's do that again. One more time now, you can lift the feet if you like. Exhale. All fours, hands and knees. Now let's place a rolled up blanket, or if you want, 2 blocks behind your wrist on the lower height. Now I have 3/4 size blocks, so it's gonna be harder if you have a full size block, which most of you do. So you'll probably want to use a rolled up blanket. Let me see if I have something I can use to show what that would look like. Oh, a rolled up yoga mat, perfect. So a rolled up yoga mat works just great actually, or a rolled up yoga blanket works well as well. And so here's what you would do. You place the rolled up yoga mat at the front of your mat, just behind your wrists, okay? And it should really touch your wrist when you're on all fours. Now, as you go back towards down dog, of course, let's check in with the 3 middle fingers, which are your breaks, the power point, which is the metacarpals, and the structure, which is thumb and pinky, okay? Press those down. And then as you start to go back, in order to not put pressure in your blanket or your yoga mat, you would have to keep your shoulders forward and the weight of the pose in the metacarpals rather than in the heel of the hand. So how do you do that? Well, you come up like you're in this awkward down dog, and as your chest goes back, your armpits stay forward and the heel of the hand actually starts to lift up slightly. Are you going to put some pressure into the yoga mat? Of course, a little bit, but you're trying to minimize that as much as possible by getting the heel of the hand slightly lifted off the ground and by moving the shoulders or armpits towards the front of the yoga mat. Okay, there's going to be a hollowing, a suctioning all the way up at the armpit, just like that suctioning at the center of your palm. There should be like a palming effect, a doming effect in the palm, just like a doming effect in the armpit. Okay, then place the knees down and you'll feel hopefully 2 things. 1, your forearm muscles exhausted, and 2, your trapezius muscles are also exhausted. Okay, that's a good thing, especially as we move towards handstand in this immersion. We need to strengthen the trapezius muscles because those are the muscles that support you from falling downward. They're also the ones that are going to protect you from shoulder impingement. Shoulder impingement happens quite often for people in downward facing dog when they don't hollow out the armpit, but rather let it drop down. That causes shoulder impingement. And then also when they don't lift the shoulders up towards the ears, but they drop down this way. So dropping down with gravity one way or another is what causes shoulder impingement. We're not going to go too deeply into that right now as far as anatomical explanation, but if you like, there are free videos on my website on the free section where you can see how to avoid shoulder impingement when downward dog, and also I think it's like that verbal cue that's destroying your shoulders, something like that. So we want to make sure that we are not dropping the shoulders in down dog and handstand. Okay, so you have, we're going to do another round of this because it took me 3 years to be able to do this properly. So 3 rounds, maybe we can get somewhat close. You're gonna place your forearms behind the, in front of the mat, the yoga mat or your blanket or your 3/4 blocks, whatever you got. And then dig your 3 middle fingers into the ground. That's gonna be your breaks. Your structure fingers, pinky and thumb, press down towards that triangulational point. And then your power points, press through the metacarpals, the heads of the metacarpals. Move your shoulders forward as you move your weight of your body back. You might have to adjust your knees, stick your bum to the sky, whatever you got to do. Lift up towards down dog. And now to move your weight out of your hands and into your feet, you have to lift the heel of the hand up in order to reach the body back into the feet. The armpits have to hollow out. They have to lift up. So it's going to feel like you're in plank pose in your shoulders, but your upper, from your torso to your hips and your feet, you're actually in down dog. Now, if you are not sure of that, you can take a look at my down dog and you can kind of see what this should look like as an end result, okay? So then when you come out, hopefully you feel that lift of the heel of the hand, so your forearms are ignited, the gripping of the fingers, you feel that real strength in your wrists, okay, all the way up through the armpit. And that's a real amazing connection, because the hands don't just exist on their own. You'll notice if you do something and you just get strong in your hands, but you don't connect the shoulders, you're still gonna feel wrist pain. But when you connect the shoulders all the way through the hands, you make a chain reaction of muscle engagement. That's where the wrist pressure gets released. And I'm sure, you know, there's all sorts of fascial explanations for that, and probably not enough scientific data on it as well. But I can just tell you from personal experience that I can do all the work I want in my wrist, but if I don't connect the shoulders, I feel the pain in my wrist. Okay, so let's do one more round. Hopefully you got it in you. Last round, place your hands right in front of your blanket or rolled up yoga mat. Find that little trilogy in the hands. Structure, pinky and thumb. PowerPoint, metacarpals. Breaks, 3 middle fingers. Walk your hips back. Keep your shoulders coming towards your ears as you come up. Keep the armpits towards the front of the mat. Lift the heel of the hand slightly. Keep the armpits lifting, hollowing out like a doming effect. And find that doming effect in your hands as well. So that little suction in the center of the palm. Okay, and release. Place your yoga mat or your blanket off to the side. And let's continue, get back to, well, let's do one shoulder opener. Move your shoulders back behind you. We're gonna get back to our standing postures to give our wrists a break. All right. Brief normal down dog, and with your normal down dog, see if you can carry with you the information you got from the yoga mat or the blanket. So heel of the hand slightly lifted, armpits hollowed out like a dome, like you're trying to lift the armpits away from the ground, and you're trying to lift the heel of the hand away from the ground. 3 middle fingers gripping, left leg to the sky. Exhale, step left foot forward. Place the hands on the front thigh, come up and pause. Back leg strong, middle back rounded, left butt under the pose slightly so your left glutes fire up. The power point in the foot is the heel. From your left sit bone, it's like you try to activate the posterior chain all the way down through the heel. Okay, press your big toe and pinky toe into the ground. With the strength of your left buttocks and glute muscles pushing into the heel, keep your body weight forward. Release the hands so you can just kind of develop a little bit of strength there in the hips. 2 more breaths. Rise up to high lunge. Open up warrior 2. Groins go back, hips go back. Now lift the front of the foot up. We press the pinky edge of the foot down and then the big toe down and suction the front of the foot towards the heel. Try to scrunch your foot up without losing the 3 middle toes lifting, okay? Same thing in the back foot. Big toe, pinky toe, 3 middle toes are lifted. I like to bend my back knee a little bit when I'm working on the back foot. Helps me gain some control of the back ankle muscles. So a little bend in the back knee might help you out as well. Big toe, pinky toe pressed down. Arch of the foot activates. Arms out to the sides. Get upright with the torso. Remember the power points, especially in the front heel, press down through it. Reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, hands to the ground. Pivot the back heel up, step forward, half lift. Stick the bum up. Exhale, bow forward, Uttanasana. Hands to the thighs, bend the knees. We're gonna take the left tricep to the right thigh. Place the right palm on top. Round the upper back. Turn the belly, turn the chest. Now, look down at your feet for a second. Toes can lift up for a moment. While the spine is twisted, let's see if we can multitask in our nervous system. Toes lift, big toe, pinky toe press down, and the arch of the feet activate. Keeping the arch of the feet active, see if you can now go back to your spine without losing your feet. Round the upper back slightly, rotate from the belly, then the chest, then the shoulders, then the head. Let's do one more breath. Okay, inhale to unwind. Hands to the thigh. Thighs. And we'll go the other direction. Exhale, twist. Take one breath in. Turn the belly and chest. Keep the weight of your body back into your heels and look down. Let's set up the feet again. Make sure that all toes lift to start. That's how I like to start it. And you move your knees and hips back. Push your heels out isometrically like we did earlier to get your outer hips active. So push your heels out. Now keeping your heels pressing out with your outer hips active, press your big toe and pinky toe into the ground. Keep pushing your heels out and finding the arch of your feet. And let's come back to the spine. We take a breath into the upper back. Exhale, we turn from the belly, the chest, shoulders. Maintain connection to your feet and pushing the heels out. Exhale, belly, chest, and shoulders. One more. Inhale, take the hands to the thighs. Unwinding. Exhale, bow forward. Halfway lift, again, find your outer hips. Press the backs of your hamstrings away from one another. If you're not sure how to do that, one thing you could do is place your hands on your outer shins and push outward into your hands until you feel the backs of your hamstrings and buttock bones widen and your outer hip muscles awaken. All right, hands to the hips, rise all the way up to stand. Let's regain access to this camera. Okay. Bend the knees, chair pose. Exhale, bow forward, Uttanasana. Back of the hamstrings open, inhale, half lift. Step the left foot back as you exhale. High lunge, rise up, inhale. Open up, warrior two. Reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, side angle preparation. Forearm to the thigh, hand to the hip. Move the groins back. Slide your right hand to the inside of your foot. Now, squeeze your 2 feet toward each other to activate the groin muscles, the hamstrings. Slide the right sit bone. Maybe this is a better angle for this. The right sit bone. I usually take my right hand sometimes, or my left hand in this case. Grab the outer hip here and bring the buttocks underneath. It's a self-adjustment. Okay, you bring the buttocks underneath and then you press down through the front heel. And you can see my front arch is collapsed at this moment, so I'm going to regain some connection to my foot. pinky toe, big toe, and get that arch active. And from the front foot active, then turn the chest, left hand to the sky. Let's do 2 more breaths. All right, both hands to the ground. Pivot the back, heel up. Let's come to plank pose. Set your hands before you step back. So 3 middle fingers, structure fingers, and PowerPoint. Inhale. Lean forward, grip the ground, chaturanga. Let's do a cobra pose, hands wide, fingertips. Inhale, lift.
Exhale, soften the midsection. Let each vertebra melt downward. Press the heart forward towards the front of the mat. Root down through the hips, lift up through the skull. Exhale, release.
All fours, hands and knees. Tuck the toes, we'll come to downward facing dog. Right leg to the sky on the inhale. Step right foot forward. Hands on the front thigh, pause. Round the back, take the left tricep, right thigh, right palm on top, round the back. Most of the weight in the front foot, you can see my front knee is directly over my heel, okay? Find the arch of your front foot by looking down, it helps. Big toe, pinky toe, and heel. The way you get your heel down here is a little tuck of the tailbone, round the back, then you'll have more access to turning the spine. The breath is in the back of the heart when you inhale. Exhales are to turn the belly. I keep my back psoas active in this pose by pressing the ball mount of the back foot down and dragging the back foot forward with a straight back knee in this case. Now here's the tricky part. Look down at your right toes and lean your body weight forward. Front knee goes way forward, and then you should be able to step the back foot lightly or drag it forward to the front of the mat. We'll stop there, hands to the thighs. Inhale, help yourself to unwind. Exhale, bow forward over yourself. Let's take a break on the spine and the legs. Interlace the hands behind the back. Maybe non-dominant grip with the pinkies. Stretch the shoulders. Okay, release the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Just bow as you exhale. Inhale, half lift. Right foot steps back, exhale. High lunge, push down, rise up. Open warrior two. Reverse warrior. And side angle preparation. So forearm comes to the inner thigh or to the thigh, hips back. That should allow you to bring your left fingertips to the ground. Now, typically when I'm setting this up, I lose the arch of my foot, I lose connectivity because there's a lot of things going on. So I just remind myself, let's regain composure. Pull the feet toward each other. I like to lift the front of the foot up a lot of the time, and that just helps me remind myself that the left buttocks can press through the heel, right? And then nothing is even needed because that strength of the glutes are super powerful. So then it's just bonus, press the big toe and pinky toe down to get the arch of the foot firmed up. Left sit bone is still tucking underneath. Okay, big toe, pinky toe firmly into the ground, and I take my posture. Slow and steady breath. One more. Release the hands to the ground. Get your hands set up, fingers gripping the ground. So 3 middle fingers, pinky and thumb pressed down, metacarpals pressed down. push so your upper back is full. That should get light in the left foot to step back. Take a full breath in. Exhale, lower. Slide hands and feet wide. Inhale, lift. Exhale, soften. Lengthen the belly. Exhale, release. So even in that cobra pose, some of you have talked about your fingers in this pose. You see how like my hands are not, I'm not like loosey-goosey here. I'm really firmed up. The fingers are actually pulling in towards the center. So there's a suction cupping of the center of the palm that gives a nice powerful base of support. Of course, if that really just hurts, you could use your hands. The problem with the hands is a lot of people tend to push a lot when their full palm is on the ground because you have more, it's more comfortable, right? So you can just put more weight, and that puts a lot of pressure in the spine. So with the fingers, it forces you to use your back muscles more. Come to all fours, hands and knees. And let's revisit the hands. 3 middle fingers, metacarpals, structured fingers, okay? Keep them firmed up. And with that, hands a little wide and turned out. You can lean forward and fill out your upper back. Show you from the side angle that when I'm forward here, see my shoulders are past my wrist. Upper back is still full. Fingers are gripping like mad. Okay, lean back, give your hands a break. Do 2 more. Hands turned out helps to be able to lean forward a little bit more often than not. Not for everybody, but for most people. Okay, release. Some of you will feel better if your fingers are straight forward, and that's cool too. All right. Hands turned out is my suggestion, but check it out for yourself. Down dog, armpits lifted, heel to hand lifted. Left leg to the sky. Step forward. Hands on the front thigh. Take the right tricep, left thigh. Palms together. Okay. From your left sit bone, root down through your left heel, a little scoop of the tail around the back. Turn the belly, turn the chest. Let's check in with the front foot. It's really important that we have strong balance in this pose because otherwise the spine will be always taking the movement. We don't want to be moving a lot in a twist. So left sit bone tucks and pushes through the heel. Big toe and pinky toe press down. And if and only if you feel stable, then you try to go into a deeper twist. If you don't feel stable, just stay where you are. Press the ball mount of the back foot down and drag it forward to keep the psoas active. It's always an option to keep looking down to help your balance. Keep the feet pulling toward each other. Okay, now transition, look down and lean your body weight forward. So front knee as far forward as you can go. And that will make it easy to drag or step the right foot forward. Hands to the thighs to unwind. Inhale here. Exhale, bow. Interlace the hands behind the back. Stretch the shoulders. Two more breaths. Release the shoulders. All right. So, oops, wrong button. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. So let's move forward to crow pose. And here's how I want you to do crow pose. I'd like you to think about the forearm being vertical in your Bakasana crow pose. For most of us, it's gonna be next to impossible to have the blocks behind the forearms, okay? So don't necessarily do that, but I'm gonna show you visually so you at least have an understanding of how far forward crow pose is. You see how my forearms are vertical? Look how far forward my shoulders are. And my fingers are in that mad gripping state. Now it's gonna hurt my wrist unless I recruit my shoulders. So I push the ground away, and now I squeeze my legs in. And you see how far forward I am, okay? That's essentially understanding. Remember in the beginning, we lean towards our toes. We have a lot more ability to lean forward than we do to lean back. So what's happening for most people that can't balance crow pose is that the weight of the body is still in the heel of the hand, and so therefore you're never coming up. Okay, so you're never balancing at all. You're falling back, in other words, the equivalent. Okay, so that looks like this. Something like that. You see that? Like you come here and you're like, okay, here I go, here I go. And the body's too far back. So if you're here and you don't, the body's always gonna lean back. You have to wait until you're here. Then your feet actually will just get light. Okay, so without, I mean, this is a great suggestion, is just lean without actually trying to pick your feet up. Lean until your feet naturally come up off the ground. So don't even try to pick your feet up, and they will come up off the ground. So try one of those, and then I got a couple of exercises I want to do with you. Okay, so just think about leaning forward. Don't even lift your feet up. Let them come up. If they come up because you've leaned forward, awesome. If they don't come up off the ground, it's not because your hamstrings are weak and you can't bend your knees. It's because you haven't leaned forward. Okay, I'll show that one more time. My setup is that the knees are outside the arms. I know this is not an arm balance immersion, but you do want to know some techniques there. So you see my knees are outside my arms, and that'll give my shin the ability to rest on the arm as well. So this is what it'll look like. Now, I have to get my hips up some degree to be able to lean forward. And you see how I just simply lean, watch my elbow. My elbow is back, it's still back. Now it's forward and my feet just got light. Push the ground away and grip the fingers into the ground like mad. Okay, so when I push the ground away, I push from my shoulders all the way through my break fingers there. Now that's why I said it's good to have a couch cushion in front of you. Okay, but I'm going to show you one other exercise you can do with a blanket or a towel. We'll keep this brief because I have one more thing I'd like to do on the agenda today. Is you can place your feet on a blanket or a towel like so, and you can learn how to lean your body forward by by reaching your hands forward, gripping the ground, and you take a little malasana and watch. I'm going to lean forward with a rounded upper back, fingers grip, and we'll slide the knees outside the arms and then sit back down. But you see how long I waited before I sat back down? Because when you sit down here, all the weight's in your feet. It takes the pressure off the hands. It's a nice relief. So I bring the hands forward, lean forward, hips up. I'm going to try to lean, grip the ground, and then pull my knees outside my arms, and then come on down. Now here's the thing that I can already anticipate happening for most of you, so listen carefully. I can see this already. I'd love for you to send these videos in the Facebook group so I can watch this one. But watch, I'm going to show you what you will do, undoubtedly. Everyone does this. Every single human being, including myself, when you first learn an exercise like this. You'll lift up, you'll go like this, you'll pull the knees forward, and then you'll lean your upper body back like this. And you'll go, why can't I get that little hang time, right? You'll be here, as opposed to here, which would be able to give you that hang time. Okay, so watch how far forward. Okay, far forward. You're just using momentum by dragging the towel forward, okay? It's causing you to, but that's why it's always good to have like a nice cushion in front of you in case you lean too far forward. It's great if you have the forearms, the brakes so active that you couldn't go further forward, all right? So always I want to exercise caution. I'm trying to inspire you to lean forward more, but of course, leaning forward is presenting a risk that you would fall forward. That's correct. So minimize the risk by putting something cushy and soft in front of you, and only incrementally increase the risk. You know, don't try to go so far forward that you fall, but go far forward where it feels like, oh, and then you still stick it, right? And that little edge of your comfort zone will expand over the course of time, okay? Now, some of you eventually would take away this little blanket and you would learn how to jump from a malasana into crow like this. Okay, and that's significantly more challenging. Maybe we can save that for another day where you're further along in this adventure. Okay, last thing I want to do is just unfold one new pose, and we can hit it back at another point in this immersion, but it's just side crow. Okay, side crow, I suggest with knees apart. I'll show it to you one time. You come into like a chair pose. You take your hands off to the side. You don't relax your hip down, but you keep your right hip completely free. I'm going to show you another angle just so you can see it. See how my right hip is not relaxed in my right elbow? Okay. But instead, your hands are really wide, and this is where shifting the weight matters. My weight is in my feet right now. I have to shift my weight over to my right hand. I shift it over to the right hand, keep my hips up. Now I lean forward towards my fingers and lift my top leg up. This might be where I stay. Maybe I shift a little bit more weight and the bottom foot comes up. Okay, by spreading the legs wide, it helps you take more weight forward, makes it easier on you. Okay, so I'll show again. You could start from down here and lean over, but I find it hard to get this knee up high enough. So one way or another, you have to lift this bottom heel to get the knee up high enough. Shift your body weight in your forehand. So shift over into your forehand. Fingers are mad, like gripping the ground. Okay, the break fingers, the pinky and thumb, the metacarpals, all pressing into the ground as best they can within that shape. Okay, and we can, of course, revisit this again and give you more since we're kind of running on the edge of time. We did a lot in this class today. Let's see if anybody has any questions. Linda says, hello. Hello, Linda. Welcome in. Claire says, still in a work meeting, so watching this on the side to do myself later. Okay, Claire. Okay, starting from the beginning now. Enjoy, Claire. All right, so the idea with side crow is that it's very much like crow pose. Just instead of your knees on the outside of the arms, you're just putting them off to the one side. Now, a lot of people they treat it as a completely different pose. So they start like this, they place an elbow here. I gotta be able to see myself. So they'll do something like here, and then it's a whole different pose. And then they dip the head down like this. Okay, it's just crow pose. Watch. Here's crow pose, right? Here's side crow. They're the same pose, but one knee is on the outside the arms. If you treat it like this, then the upper body feels like it's exactly the same scenario, okay? Where all you have to do is lean forward. And that's where you want to try to get to in your arm balances, where they feel very much the same posture, not like a whole new experience. You're set up, your shoulders are pushing, your fingers are gripping, and you lean forward. If you remember the block behind the forearm, on all fours, you lean forward past that block. Or in other words, you lean your forearm towards your fingers. Your fingers stop you from leaning. So your fingers grip the ground. These three middle fingers are the brakes that stop you from leaning, while at the same time, your body weight is saying, no, I'm trying to lean. Your fingers say, no, you're not, right? They have this little argument, which is what we call balance. Opposite energies, opposite forces against one another create balance. That's it, opposing muscle groups or opposing actions. One action is to lean forward, the other action is to push and stop you from leaning forward as if it's trying to push you back. Those two contrasting forces create stillness, lack of mobility, and that's what we're trying to do. So I'm going to show one more time as you're probably working. See, my hands are wide. I'll show from this angle, I think is nice. My leg is wide, and all I'm doing is leaning forward, gripping the ground, and that's it, leaning forward, gripping the ground, right? It's a really great way to just practice that. So here I like when my knees are facing the same direction. I lean forward, I grip the ground, and it's only when, and I'll show you from the side angle, when my forearms hit that vertical point that I'm able to balance. Right now I'm at vertical. I'm gonna go a little bit past vertical, just a little bit past here, okay? Right to the point where these 3 middle fingers really have to work. They have to fight to keep me lifted upward. Okay, that's good for today. Let's do a shoulder stretch. And let's do a wrist release. So you take your forearm to the ground, palm up, knee comes right towards the elbow. Not on the elbow, you're on the forearm muscle just inside the elbow crease. If anybody has any questions, you're welcome to throw them up in the chat. I know we're just over time right now, so you could also put them in the Facebook group, which is great. And it does help me to see your videos, so if you want to put up any of the videos like the slide forwards into crow, you want to put your side crow up there. Again, I just request that you ask for tips if you want them. If you don't want them, you just want to celebrate, which is totally great too. We want you to do that. So don't feel like if you post a video, you need to get feedback. I only give feedback if it's asked for. But if you want to post a video to be like, check it out, I can't believe I did this, great. You know, I'm all for that as well. So I'm going now towards the middle of the wrist. I missed that on the other side. In down dog, it feels like my upper back is rounding when lifting the heel of my hand up. So yeah, Lenore, that's probably because you're doing it from your spine instead of like you're trying to put you're kind of coming from all the way to your upper back, which is really actually quite nice for a preparation for handstand. Sorry, I'm gonna go to the middle forearm on the other side too. It's a nice preparation for handstand to do it that way. But what you're gonna do is kind of retract your shoulder blades more, or think about melting your heart down a little bit while the armpits stay lifted. That's actually gonna be an upward rotation of the scapula. It's gonna feel like retraction in the upper border of your scapula. I'll show you from the front side so you can see that. This is probably a good angle to do that. So, get the armpits lifting. And you're probably something like this. Your heels are probably up here like this. Bend your knees, stick your bum up, and arc the back as you move your hips back. So there's a big lifting of the sit bones, a big arching of the low back, or you're trying to at least, as you move back. And it's gonna feel like the upper border of your scapula are retracting. And it's just, notice your heels are probably lifted way up while you're rounding your back. Bend your knees first, stick your bum to the sky, move your hips back. Then you can start to keep the arch in the low back. It's okay if your upper back is rounded. Why is it harder going up into side crow with feet apart? It's just new. It's new. It's not harder. It's probably something you've never done before or haven't practiced before. So as a result, it's harder. You can bring the legs together. That's totally fine. I was just offering another option for a lot of you. It'll be beneficial if you know both options. Just don't have your hip resting on your elbow. That's all I ask. Okay, Sabui says, interesting. I can do side crow from a little crouch position, hands wide, and my other hip is free in the full posture. However, I'm struggling with the approach with the legs apart. That's totally cool. Do it as long as your hip is free, Sabui, then do it that way. That's then totally cool to come in from a crouch position. I'm all for it. Just don't have your other hip resting on your elbow. That would diminish, basically that would take away everything that we're learning about leaning in the body weight, because when your hip is resting on your elbow, you've put your body weight on your elbow, making it easy to do kind of a lever effect, essentially taking away all necessity for true balance. You'll just be counterbalancing and kind of balancing your weight on a little like a lever. It's hard to explain that, but essentially you will be making it a lot easier on yourself, which is cool if you're, if you're just learning how to do a pose and you want to be able to access it. But if you really want to learn how to balance, then I suggest hip off. That way you're going to be forced to learn how to shift your body weight and then stop it from falling. All right, let's come to Shavasana for at least a brief few moments here to let the physical body rest. If you want to take a happy baby or anything of that sort, you're welcome to it. If you want to do a twist, you're welcome to that. I usually suggest if you're going to do a twist, do some sort of even posture afterwards. If you're breathing the sound of Ujjayi, see if you can allow that to relax. So you come back to your body's natural breathing, uncontrolled. Bring your awareness back to your breath. Awaken the fingers and toes. Stretch the arms as you wish. Roll to your side. To a seated position. Let's take a moment to honor this body. Honor yourself, the part of you that is willing to put effort forth
into connection to this body, right? The body does what it does, and it will only develop based on the actions it takes each day. And who is in charge of taking action? It's us. So the fact that you have put the effort forth into taking action to increase your body awareness, to increase the connectivity to the muscular system and the reactivity for balance, this is a part of you that you want to honor. So we bow into that motivation, inspiration within that takes action, that leads us to take action. Namaste, all. Let's see here. Erica, hello and welcome. Erica says, hi, my request to join the Facebook group is still pending. Would love to be able to enter. Let me check that, Erica. I'll do that right now and make sure that I do not forget. Thank you for letting us know. Let's check the groups. I haven't seen any notifications. Let me see. Mm. 10,000 Facebook groups. Where are you? All right. There it is. And okay, cool. There's 8 of you that didn't get in. I apologize for that. So if you were waiting for a request, I just accepted you. So sorry. Stuart says, thanks, Matt. I must dash now, but thanks for another great class. Thank you, Stuart. Dina says, learning something new with each class. This one I will revisit. Feeling great. Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Dina. Appreciate it. Anyone else has any questions or anything they'd like to share, feel free before we part ways for today. This one's still working. Yes. Looks like I'm improved. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Enjoy, Erica. Thanks for being part of the Facebook group and, of course, part of this immersion. Nina G, always falling forward on a crow pose. Thank you, Matt. Always falling forward on a crow pose. Okay, well, I think you want to, minimize that. One thing you could do with crow is actually go from the backwards. Like you could place. This is dangerous, so I'm just going to say this up front, that if you have cork blocks, you can really hurt yourself. So don't use cork blocks. Foam blocks, and maybe even putting like a pillow over, put a pillow over the foam blocks. Something like you put the pillow over like this. This way it's soft, because you can easily come back down. But what you could do is you can take your hands back and you form like an equilateral triangle between your hands and your head. It's a little bit not so scientifically perfect. And your elbows have to start wide for this variation, otherwise you won't be able to access this. And then you just, once you have your head here, you squeeze your elbows in, grip your fingers into the ground, and you can work by pushing the ground away and gripping your fingers to come up off the blocks. And you always want to end up falling onto your feet in this variation, because that's where it's really dangerous. I don't usually teach that. I'm offering it, but please use a pillow in case you do come back down on your head. It's not, obviously your head can take a little bit of hit of a foam block. Cork block might be a little painful, but your nose though, is where you want to be careful. If you hit your nose, might be a little injury there. Linda says, thanks again, Matt. Great strategies. My side crow just got stronger and can be held hold on to balance slightly longer. Awesome, like 3 to 5 seconds. Awesome, Linda, welcome to your side crow. Patty says, thanks, Matt, another great class. Thank you, Patty. Pidgey says, thank you so much, Matt. Great class. I know how to use my handbrake in crow now. Awesome. Lenore says, thank you so much for your words at the end. Love it. Awesome, Lenore. Nina G says, wow, this looks really helpful. I'm going to try this. Awesome, Nina. Hope so. Just remember, soft, something soft, please. We don't want any injuries. All right, friends, have a beautiful day. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.